If I asked you, all of you here, before I gave you this talk, if I said to you, you have two choices today. One, you can go in a nuclear plant for the day. Two, you can drive your car around the autostrada all day. Which are you going to do in order to be safe from harm? You are 1.3 million times safer in the nuclear plant than you are driving a car on the highway. So there's my case. And I don't know of any other way to convince people is to just give the numbers. Those are the numbers. There are no other conflicting numbers except for Greenpeace claiming that 90,000 people died in Chernobyl, which is, again, it's just made up numbers. They don't have any evidence of this at all. And I believe the World Health Organization and that very strong study which has been done over the years. So this is why I support nuclear energy, because we made a mistake, and Greenpeace and the rest of the environmental movement on this issue is stuck in the 70s, as was mentioned in the introduction. They haven't come forward into 2011, where the situation is different. We have the climate issue, we have the air pollution issue killing 2 million people a year according to WHO, and we need to change our thinking on what is safe and what is risky. And what is risky is going and getting in a car or walking on streets where the cars are driving, because about half of those 1.3 million people who die in vehicle-related accidents are pedestrians, completely innocent. And even another large amount are simply passengers, or even drivers who were not at fault. Or in some cases, there's no one really at fault. It's just an accident. But 1.3 million people are dying this way each year. No one has ever been harmed by nuclear power in Germany. Not one German citizen has been harmed by nuclear energy. And yet they have this irrational, emotionally based opposition to their nuclear power plants, which will cause them to burn more coal and pollute the air more because of irrational thinking. That is not a sensible environmentalist who is thinking that way.
You are advocating for the case for nuclear power because you are worried, concerned about fossil fuel as anyone else. But at the same time, you say that global warming is not that bad. What do you mean for that?
Another rather large issue. The last chapter of my book in English is titled Climate of Fear. And I personally think that the sort of powerful convergence of interests around promoting the fear of climate change. I'm not talking about the concern about climate or the interest in studying climate. Of course, these are good things. We should be concerned about the climate. We should study the climate. We should discuss the climate. But to be afraid of the Earth's climate, this is a powerful fear that has been put into us by elites. Elites in government, elites in the environmental movement, elites in the media, elites in academia, elites in business. All of these sectors are benefiting from creating this fear in the general public. It's not a conspiracy so much, because I'm not really a conspiracy theorist myself, but it is a powerful convergence of interests among the major elites in our society. It serves the politicians well to promise to save the children. How can you be worried about the price of gasoline more than your children's future? So this gets votes. And companies like to look green. Even companies which have nothing to do with energy are putting pictures of windmills in their advertising because it's clean and morally superior as well. So the fear of climate is the problem. Now, as to the science of climate, there are three main questions. Number one, is the climate getting warmer in this world? Number two, are human beings the cause of this? Number three, if it is getting warmer, will this be mostly good or mostly bad? Because nothing is all good or all bad that is so complex as climate. It will have some good and some bad. But which is the most, good or bad? The answer to the first question is yes. Actually, the world's climate has been warming since about 1800, when the Little Ice Age came to an end. In England, for example, the River Thames, the last time it froze was in 1814. Prior to that, for 300 years during the Little Ice Age, 400 years, it was freezing over quite regularly. It has not frozen over again since then, nearly 200 years. The climate started warming. But before the Little Ice Age was the medieval warm period, when some people believe it was even warmer than it is today, because grapes were growing in Scotland. They were making wine there. And people from Norway went to Greenland. Not only to Greenland, which was actually green then, instead of only white like it is today, parts of it. Even then it had huge glaciers covering most of it. And also people went to Newfoundland in Canada. The Vikings, 1,000 years ago, had a village in Newfoundland. They were frozen out by the Little Ice Age when it came. Before the medieval warm period, there was the Dark Ages, after the Roman Empire. That was also a cold period. The Renaissance coincided with the medieval warm period coming on. The Roman period was also a warm period. Warmer than today, probably. So, the climate has been changing through even the last 1,000, 2,000 years, up and down, up and down. If you go back to the end of the last glaciation, not the end of the Ice Age has not ended yet. We are still in it. It's called the Pleistocene. It began about 2.5 million years ago. Before that, the whole world was warmer, everywhere, for 50 million or more years. But 2.5 million years ago, for some reason, the Earth was plunged into an age of ice. And the ice came down over Scandinavia, all over northern Russia, over the whole of Canada, right into the United States, and it was 2 kilometers thick in places. And that's how the world was for 100,000 years. 4 times this happened in the last 2.5 million years. What caused that? Not human beings, that's for sure. The answer to the second question, are human beings causing the global warming that has been occurring since about 1800? The answer is, we don't know, but probably not. That's my answer. The answer to the third question, will it be mostly good or mostly bad if the climate continues to warm? Now, we don't know it's going to continue to warm. There are people who think they know that. And one of the problems with being a scientist is if you say you don't know the answer, you seem more stupid than the guy who says he knows the answer. It's impossible to avoid this problem. I simply say, we do not have scientific proof that human beings are causing any warming. We do not have it. If it was there, you see this piece of paper, they would write it down here and we could read it. But instead they say, the science. They just say, the science. We have the science. What? That carbon dioxide theoretically would cause it to get warmer. Yes, we know that. That's a hypothesis. Everything else being equal, we would expect increased CO2 to make a warmer world. But if you look at the history of CO2 and temperature, you will see it's not so simple as that. There are other factors at work.